Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Coast-to-Coast Combat Hour. I'm your host, Matthew Hawkins, and as always, I'm joined by my friend and co-host, Ed Carbajal. Ed, are you ready for the Strickland era 2.0?
I mean, it's better. He's better than what was there, right? Like, I mean, I know Kamzat's whatever, but I prefer to have somebody that, I mean, just as a fan of the sport, you want an active champion, somebody that's going to fight. And Strickland's definitely somebody that's been fighting as of recent, comparatively to Kamzat. So, I almost feel like, I mean, he won the fight. I agree with the decision. It was a split decision officially, I think.
It was close. It was close. It was close. It was really, really close. Like I think I had it 2-2 going into the last round. I thought the last round was pretty close too. I probably gave. I thought Strickland. I wanted Strickland to win. I was glad he won the decision. I said that on the show that we were kind of rooting for him. We just didn't think it would happen. And after the first couple seconds, it kind of looked like what we thought he was going to get. You know, the submission I thought was going to come sooner than later. But again, going into that fight, like the week of the fight, like I just couldn't get out of my head that like this is the best guy he's ever fought. And you can argue Usman and stuff, but I feel like it's past prime Usman at this point. I feel like this is the most prime, best fighter he's ever fought. And the other guy who was kind of in that category was Burns, and Burns took him to the extreme. So I just kept, it was like it kept popping in my head, like, man, if he just stuffs one takedown, that's really all it might take. And essentially that's all it took.
And the other thing that I didn't really like, I mean, when we did our picks last week, I didn't take into account because it's hard for me to get into anything outside of the actual fights when it comes to these two particular competitors. But I didn't know about their training history, which I think helps when you know somebody enough or you've already kind of felt them. I think that helped a lot too with the strategy, especially the first round, looking the way it did and him being calm, because you know there's when you look back at the other fights that you mentioned, you know there was always just a sense of urgency or whatever, because you know that was the first time they'd been taken down by him live. But you know Strickland went in there knowing what he felt like as far as his pressure and stuff goes. So and that showed a lot, especially when it went to the ground. I wasn't surprised that, because the way he stands, he took him down so easy, but Strickland just was patient enough to make the whole cardio thing that everybody kind of earmarks on Kamzat an actual thing for this fight, and I like that he did that. I was surprised that when Kamzat kind of just flopped for him. Was that round 2? I think it was.
It was when early in round 2 he stuffed that takedown, and it was like from that point on he really didn't seem all that interested in takedowns. It was I think he knew at that point like a lazy takedown is going to be a really bad result over and over again if that's what he can't get. I think we underestimate his striking a little bit. I think Kamzat's striking is better than probably I had in my head. I mean, I know he's had some good fights where he's beat some people up, but he had some nice boxing, I suppose. You know, the jabs and everything he was throwing, he was landing a lot on Strickland, more than I expected. In fact, in hindsight, probably stopping shooting all those takedowns probably worked out best for him. I mean, honestly, if you can't take him down, then even trying is probably kind of futile, honestly, for some of that stuff, because once he gets up, man, it's just like you're in his world again, and it, you know, I don't know. I'm happy he won. I thought it was a close fight. Had it been a draw, I would have been fine with it. I'm fine with watching a rematch if somehow they are able to book it. If that's what comes, I have no issue with it. I don't necessarily need to see it next because Imavov has earned a title shot, but I mean, you know, to me, it was a good fight. I thought it was a good fight. I was into the fight from the first minute to the last second. And it had some slow points, you know, but it's MMA. Like, I don't know why we got this world where, like, in a 25-minute fight, there's not going to be some slowdowns. Like, I feel like we've gotten so used to, like, you know.
It's always hard for the main event to if they do anything slow or technical or whatever, you know, after a co-main event like we had with those two flyweights, you know, they kind of made everybody else look slow when you see a fight like their fight, but which I know we're going to get into. But
also, to be fair about that fight, your homeboys out there in New Jersey were booing half of that fight. Like, you know what I mean? Okay. I mean, again, we know where that's coming from, but, you know, it's just weird to me that, like, I mean, the minute, like, you get a 30-second kind of stall down, and I'm like, you know, the origin of this sport is a lot of 30-second lay and pray.
Yeah.
You know, so like it always amuses me when the crowd starts booing or people start, you know, or
well, yeah, those are all new people though. Like, you know,
you
they're
know,
all they tune into
I
probably
I know
for
who
their
they are.
news.
It's weird, the whole transition from the
Yeah.
crowd and
It is
everything
weird.
that's taking place. It's
We're
really
old.
it's you know, I guess it's getting old and kind of having seen stuff, and now you're seeing the new wave come in, and it's not, you look in the mirror, man, it's not the same. This is not the same fight game that we were raised on or got into, or it's totally different now. There's it's not this, it's just not the same. I mean, you could just look at the events going on locally. Like, I mean, there's those don't pop up. There's no, you know, we don't have Bellator. We don't have Strike. We don't have, I mean, we got PFL right now, which I'm kind of happy to see. They got McKee fighting. They're coming to San Diego, which is nice to see them at least trying another market that they, for some reason, have avoided when it like, you know, most successful MMA companies come through Southern California because it's been a hotbed of all time, you know, all-time history of fights have almost come through Southern California. So why don't we bring some of them here? And, you know, that's where most people get their name. And, you know, and you know, obviously I'm a little biased, and, you know, the East Coast has got your shows too, but my God, like the history has been coming through California while it was illegal in New York for all those years and harder for them to put on shows. So it's just odd that they're finally coming here, which is nice, but and ticket prices seem all right. I'm kind of curious to see how it unfolds if there's ticket sales.
Let's get back on track with the fights.
Yeah. No, I know. But yeah, I mean, the crowd booing, but that was a great fight. You know, honestly, the main card was pretty fun from the start to finish for me.
Yeah, I actually really like this card. And I rewatched the co-main event the day after Mother's Day celebrations and stuff. But one last thing I wanted to say about the final of the main event, like when I heard split decision, I in my mind, part of me was kind of like, I had a feeling, because when you think about everything that happened with the weigh-in situation, with I don't know if you saw that, but like comes up pretty much briefly stepping on the scale and getting weighed in right away for 185 after he almost died making the weight, from the reports that are coming out after the fact and excuses for the fight or whatever you want to call it. I just thought that the fact that it went to decision, I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere, you know, behind in the back doors and the back offices of Prudential Center, the powers that be were kind of like, we got to take the belt off this guy because you know, it's just not working out.
You know, I hate to go that route, and we've joked about that in the past, and we've kind of commented, you know, anything's possible. I mean, I think it's clear he didn't make weight. Yeah. I think it was probably one of the biggest scandals just put in front of everybody's face, and everybody just kind of, he's
a liability.
It's just weird. It's just weird when you see something like that, and then like they tell you, like, you know, I'm not the person behind the, you know, it's like the wizard, you know, it's or the, you know, it's like Jedi mind tricks, you know, you're not the Jedi I'm looking for. It's like, what do you mean? Like, I'm watching this, I see clearly that the thing never settles. It's bouncing around. It's tinging off left and right from bouncing up.
No, listen, my instructor, my jiu-jitsu instructor, Brian Katz, who, you know, he's been there for weigh-ins and stuff. He's gotten people to the UFC way back before it was what it is now. I mean, he and I trained together the Saturday and he was just like, dude, he's like, he didn't make weight. And I was just like, yeah, you know, especially when you use that scale, the whole point of that scale is that you know, it's not fast because you have to wait for it to stand
to
still
balance out.
Pinpoint it,
It's a pendulum
your doctor uses, So I feel like there was a lot. I mean, with his health stuff and everything, just everything, visa issues, his connections to the folks over there in Chechnya and the warlord and stuff like that, and other stuff that, I mean, you want to look up Kareem Zaidan on Substack. He's got a whole probably chapter he could write on all that stuff. of why it's probably best for the UFC to kind of not make him a thing, you know. So when I heard that, I was like, you know what, I'm happy. I'm either way. I'm not the biggest fan of Sean Strickland, but to his own credit and other fighters that I do have to talk to that have trained with him, you know, he is tough as nails, and you know, it's nice to have an American champion, and you know, it's just we don't have to worry about him saying no to a fight. So,
in hindsight, it kind of sucks this wasn't on the White House card. Now, it would have been obviously some of the chatter going in probably would have been too much over the top, but it kind of would have been a cool ending. Yeah, I mean, I've watched this sport to know that a lot of this is acting. A lot of people are selling fights. I mean, we've interviewed fighters on here that have come on and said Sean Strickland's one of the coolest, nicest people they've ever known. Somebody who goes out of his way to help people.
Yeah.
I've heard that from multiple people. I've never met the man personally, but it's you know, and even his post-fight stuff where he's trying to apologize, and then you get some of these other talking heads in this media industry that are fucking morons that make it about them somehow when a guy's trying to become a better person, I guess, in the public eye. Like, I don't really see an issue with that. I was telling my friends, like, he has an opportunity now, and you'd think that, you know who I'm talking about, the guy who's all about Pro Wrestling now. You would think that he would understand the heel babyface kind of turn and how that can change somebody's, you know, view from a fan's perspective. Even, you know, one's fake and one's scripted, and the other one is essentially fake and scripted also. You know,
maybe,
like
plus it could be his own. I mean, maybe you know, these people go through these things in front of the world on live TV, you know, and maybe it's just a sign of his own maturity, saying, "Holy shit, I'm a champion now. Let me start conducting myself as such, because the sport is so big. There's kids, you know, Dana White was walking kids to the weigh-ins and in the ring and holding them up, and you know what I mean. And it's like maybe he's been married. He's a family, you know, he's married himself, so maybe it's just his own realization. Like let the fucking guy be mature." You know,
that's what I'm saying. Why not give him the benefit of the doubt and let him prove himself wrong? Like, there's no reason to just be so against, you know. It's a really weird perspective to have that you would, and then to make it about yourself and world issues and everything else. It's like, it's just insane. It's a sad commentary. You know, and the guy who likes to talk about himself a lot, I don't even want to say his name on the show anymore. But you know, it started to dawn on me, you know, the guy brags about being around
because that's what he wants you to do. Yeah.
No, right. I know. I understand. He brags about being around since 2001, which is what, 25 years now. Who's he brought up? Who's his roots? Or I should say, who is his like coaching tree? Who are the people that came out that he helped? What podcast did he go on that he really helped somebody out? What has that guy ever done to improve anybody else in our entire industry? I say our industry. I'm you know, your media. I'm a fan who likes to do a podcast, and people can label me however they want, but that's just the truth. Who has he helped out? Yeah. You know, who has he ever given a breaking thing to somebody else to let them break it so their website gets 100,000 fucking views? No.
If anything, the opposite.
If anything, you'll steal it from somebody else. And we know how this game's played. And props to him for being able to be kind of that you know, willing to do that, willing to undercut and say stuff and just make everything individual about themselves. If that's what he wants to do, then that's fine. But man, it's getting old. People that kind of were like just neutral on you now, AKA me, is kind of like, bro, you're just a talking head now. You don't. And honestly, like, again, where's the passing of the torch? You talk about being here 25 years, bro. Like when are you gonna help anybody else? Are you gonna promote anybody else at shows? Are you gonna ever have go on another show or have other podcast guests on your show to try to promote their thing? Like, no, that just doesn't exist in the world from the guy who apparently came number one. Never mind, some of us were actually sitting at fights, training MMA while he was at his little schooling. So that's all I got to say about that fucking moron, and I'll let that go with that. Yeah, and that's where I'm at with him at this point. So, sorry, I had to get that little. That was building up over the last couple hours and days.
that's trust me, I'm
But I think we should have a
I'm
new
there
stance
with
where we
you.
just don't even mention his name.
Yeah,
I think he should just be the talking head. I like
yeah,
that better because that's all he is.
yeah.
There's nothing else behind
But
it. It's just a talking head.
yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, and me and Mines agrees with you. But that co-main event, man, I mean, I called it when we did our preview. I said it was going to be fight of the night, and it was. And we're definitely going to see. When you look at the options that Van has now for opponents between Pandoja, between another one with Tyra, and everybody else that kind of wants a piece of him, the dude literally his stock probably tripled after Saturday night if you weren't into him. And then I said too, which is funny because they did a preview thing just before where he even said he wasn't happy with the way he got the title. So have it not only defending it and winning the way that he won in a fight like that against an opponent like that cements him as a champ. It just underlines like anyone that doubted that he didn't earn it. Now he absolutely earned it. I'm a fan now. I mean, not that I wasn't, but I was like, again, like I said last week, was skeptical. I was like, oh, we wanted Tyra to win, and I mean, and how heartbreaking it is it's to see him be so emotional after the loss. And that's what I wanted to ask you too, Matt, because I know I usually message you during it, but with everything going on over here on the East Coast, my mind's not what it used to be. But what did you think of the stoppage? Because I felt like I was a little bit on Tyra's side because like John Anik said something along the lines of like when the title's on the line, let it fucking go till somebody didn't say it like that, but the point was like I said, there's a title on the line, let him fucking finish him completely, or let him fight back, And I was kind of like, yeah, man, I thought the stoppage was. I know he got dropped, and I know they were fucking each other up, but like, I don't know. I just felt like it was too soon.
So here's how I assessed it in my mind. The referee was Shaolin Ribeiro, which is a guy who is a fighter, world-class fighter, and somebody that I respect as a fighter and as a referee because I think he does a fairly good job.
Yeah.
I think he could have stopped the fight earlier when Tara was getting beat. I think Tara proved that he had a chin. See, okay, so he proved to me, Tara proved to me that he's got a chin and that he'll never give up. And that's something that is a major thing that's going to help him going forward. Because now he literally just has to figure out how to submit the guy once he's got him down for 5 minutes, and then he'll be world champion. I mean, that's really kind of where we're at, honestly, because he had total control. He had total control of that fight for several minutes. He was just not able to advance his position beyond the mount and get any kind of really any kind of submission attempts in general.
There's something about Japanese submission, like they do this thing because when he could have stayed on top when he went for that triangle when Van, people are like,
there was that.
Yeah, people are like, oh, Van just got up. But if you watch enough, I mean, and this will probably hit you when I say it. If you watch enough like Japanese MMA, and I always tell people that I train with and classes I've taught, like I'll give it's funny dicking around on Saturday. I dove for Kimura versus just trying to sneak it in like I normally do, because if you watch enough Japanese MMA, like they almost do submissions like they're pro wrestling moves. And I'm wondering if, because there is a setup from Mountain Turtle where you try to where you can let them get up and they kind of fall into your triangle, but because of their the way that Japanese fighters do it, that was my perception of that triangle attempt, which was obviously it was almost in. He couldn't get the finalities done on it. But I feel like it was just that it was a mistake on his part that Van was able to capitalize on. And Van's he actually looks pretty big for the flyweight, like as far as his musculature. So he's obviously strong enough to muscle out of more than a few submissions and stuff like that. So he probably had a strength advantage over him. But, in a fight like that with that pace, I mean, you're trying everything, and seeing what the fuck happens. I hope we get to see them again soon. Maybe fucking book them. I know it's a long ways away, but they put them two in November, when they return to Madison Square Garden. that's a fucking fight that, I mean, maybe not main event, but co-main again. But those guys will definitely could main event again. But
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean
know.
that's 6 months off. To me, they're going to need that much time. Let me get back
Mm-hmm.
to real quick answer your question before I started to ramble about
Oh, yeah,
how the fight was going. No, it's my fault. I kind of kept going again. So I know I don't. To get, long story short, I don't think it was a bad stoppage. If that stoppage had been made on its own with what I hadn't seen for the first 24 and a half minutes or whatever it was, I would have said, okay, it's a little quick. It happened. He knocked him down, but man, I respect John Ack and some of those guys, but if Van follows up and puts him out cold and face plants him on the ground, and it takes him a minute and a half to wake up, they're going to be talking about how it should have been stopped in the second round. So I kind of don't. Nobody's ever perfect. My thing is, I believe the fight should be stopped when the fight's over, and I thought at that moment the fight was over. In my mind, that Van won the fight right there. It was the fifth round. There was no pathway to winning the decision at that point. And he was dropped, and
I think I was in my own bloodlust or whatever.
Oh, dude, I get it. I get it, man. And like, I get it. And I would have liked to have seen what would have happened, but I also don't necessarily need to see a young guy against a giant puncher get his head smashed into the ground 4 or 5 times after showing us he has a granite chin for 24 and a half minutes. Like,
I think his reaction is what made me question it, because,
dude, I get that. I understand that, but like, he wasn't going to win the fight. To me, the fight ended at that point because it was kind of okay, maybe it's 2-2. It's close. Van's dominating. Smash. Bro, like, you're dropped again for like the 4th time. I'm rooting for you. I'm hoping for a flying triangle at that moment, but it ain't happening. To me, I thought the fight was over. Was it the best stoppage of all time? No. Did I complain for 1 second? Not at all. I thought Van won the fight. He earned my respect as a martial artist beyond, I mean, the skill he showed and the patience and the ability to do what he did and still come back was tremendous. Tara, I gained respect for that man because, my God, like, we talk about it. A lot of times guys have to take a beating to realize what they're capable of, it seems like. And to see him walk through some of that stuff and survive that stuff against probably the strongest puncher that he's going to run into at those weight classes, to me tells me that he's going to win a lot of fights. We're going to see this fight at least another 1 or 2 times. And if he wins the next fight, it's not going to surprise me the least bit. I think these guys are well matched. I think they're both world class. And for me, praising the 125-pound division, like, after, a few years back, I was like, let's just get rid of this thing and move on. I don't need to see.
I was never on that team. I
know you weren't. I know you weren't. So respect to you for that. But I was after the Mighty Mouse stuff. I was kind of like, let's just condense everything out. My God, it's really the most exciting division they got going right now. And when guys are fighting like that, they don't seem like they're small guys to me. And I know that might sound weird, but like,
no,
like, they're not 125-pound, 130-pound men fighting when they're fighting like that. To me, they're warriors that are fighting, and it doesn't, like, it changes the whole perspective as opposed to, like, I don't see them as small people in the cage, so that's cool. Maybe being in there with not Margulata or big, a giant referee standing next to the guys might be something that the UFC might want to look into as well for perspective. We don't need a 7-foot ref with 5-foot fighters, but I thought the fight was great. I thought the last 2 fights were really fun and kind of energized me a little bit, enough that I was kind of sick and tired of listening to some of these commentators talk and having to say that, because I've been kind of down on the sport for the last couple of months. There were some fights here that made me that excited me, put me on the edge of my seat, and that was fun. That's fun to see, and I'm glad to see it in 2026. I hope it continues. I really do.
It was a good card. I liked seeing Jim Miller get that win after we didn't think he would. I wish it wasn't against Jared Gordon, because, again, those are some East Coast fighters, two East Coast vets. Like you said, should have been probably the headliner for the entry into the pay-per-view portion or the main card portion. But this card was something that especially after everything I've been through over here, like looking for something to get me going, start this the summer season, if you will, of MMA. It got me excited. I'm looking for it. I was kind of like meh with the White House card outside of the Justin Gaethje fight. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to this weekend's card with the MVP. I'm just excited about combat sports again, and this card kind of.
We didn't talk about this at all, but have you had a chance to catch any of the Game Bred bare knuckle?
I watched the bare knuckle MMA one.
Yeah, he just had another one recently last week.
Yeah, I know.
And man, I love that. I know it's a different thing, but I mean, it's basically UFC 1. I mean, obviously the rules don't allow some of the stuff, but again, most of those stuff didn't happen in the early fights. The head stomps and stuff was a rarity. It's normally what we see in normal MMA now is essentially how it was back then. It was just bare knuckle, minus a handful of knees and a handful of stomps here and there. But it's different, and it's violent as hell. But I think I like what he's doing, and I hope he sticks to that. To give that outlet for another option of fights. Don't decide to put gloves on and go against the UFC or MMA or just stick to your niche. If you're getting a crowd, if you're making any money at all, hell, if you're breaking even, keep doing that because that's fun.
I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because right before we're going to look into the MVP's first MMA card for this weekend with Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano. One of the questions that came up by he who will not be named anymore on this show, was obviously a bait question to try to get Jake Paul to argue about it. But when you look at the people that are doing well in this fight game, like say I know Karate Combat's got some issues now, but they've been all right because they focus on their own house. The same thing with Dirty Boxing, BKFC, David Feldman. Bellator before they went under, that's a business thing that fucked them up with the Paramount Viacom and that Bob Backish guy. But when you focus on your own shit and just put on fights and events, you're gonna build enough of something. And Sean Wheelock hinted to this about putting on events too when we had him on the podcast. And it holds true. Like if you just focus on what the fuck you're doing and not worry about. Because the question was because Dana White was asked about this weekend's card after UFC 328, and he just wished him well. And the question was posed to Jake Paul to try to get him to do what that guy does. And Jake Paul thankfully didn't take the bait because he was just like, look, well, we're not just looking to disrupt, we're just trying to give people another option over here. Didn't take the bait, which I like, and I hope that means most valuable promotions can do, I don't want them to be affliction. I would like them to do, do your boxing, do your women's boxing, but, throw a couple of MMA events and mega MMA events like this one, if you can after this one.
I mean, the names are out there. There's no reason why they couldn't do this twice a year. Every 6 months, have a really nice MMA card that allows some of these people to make good paychecks and get a couple extra fights in. It'd be nice to see him even reach out to the Ryzens and the BKFCs and try to create some kind of friendly world that we've always dreamed of, but is never been able to happen because of egos, and probably will never be able to happen because of egos. But it would be nice to see, at least publicly, Jake Paul comes off to me as somebody who's willing to kind of at least venture into some stuff. And maybe at least talk to people and kind of figure it out.
He got his jaw broke to see how far he goes.
Again, might be he might be an ass, but I mean, at least my perspective is that he kind of is open to at least hearing some stuff out, and if something's good for business, then we can talk. But yeah, I mean, I look forward to this card. It's this Saturday. The good thing is it's the UFC really isn't counter programming it. I know they have an Apex card, but they're not trying. They didn't put Anderson Silva on free TV to try to screw this up, or this is going to play out, and we're going to find out how many people watch this, and it's going to kind of be the first time I feel like where we've had kind of a big event where it's not counter programmed. So we might actually get a true reading on what another MMA organization can draw if they're not going heads up against the UFC on a night, because it seemed like every big Bellator, every big Strike Force, every big everything, Affliction, everything we just mentioned always got counter programmed. So a couple of these fights fell apart, which is kind of disappointing. Mokaev and Moraes fell apart because Mokaev couldn't get struggle getting a visa.
So I don't think I actually like Fumi Nakuda stepping in better than the Mokaev against Moraes.
Really?
Just because I mean he's undefeated. He's pretty much picked up all the titles everywhere he's fought around here. So it's almost like Moraes is fighting somebody, and I've interviewed him too. So I mean I'm a little biased because I found his energy. The fact that he hasn't been brought to the UFC is mind boggling to me. Because if you've ever seen Fumi when he fought for CFFC or I think it's CFFC where he had a really good run. And the man picks up a microphone like he's a promoter. He's what a promoter wants. The fact that the fact that they got him and the UFC didn't is it's crazy to me. And I know he's somebody that, as good as he is in MMA, you know, he wants to do pro wrestling, but obviously he's a flyweight. They're doing this at catch weight at 130. But I like this fight better. I don't know why. I just like it better because I mean Mokaev, you know, I know he's good too or whatever, but I wasn't surprised that the fight fell apart.
No, I suppose that's not a surprise. Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. It's definitely a good fight still. But I mean, I was kind of curious to see Mokaev get a big name fight again and see if he can work his way back to the UFC in a point where they, you know, where he, you know, I feel like he should be in the. I look at a lot of these guys' records and I'm trying to figure out it, and I names and stuff, and I'm trying to figure out why they're not in the UFC when the UFC signing guys that are like 4-2. But
you know what's I mean, and you know, when I was looking through it, it looks like a lot of people are favoring Moraes to win. I guess to the last minute change or whatever. But I want Nakuda. I'm Team Turbo. I that's his nickname. Fumi Nakuda is Turbo. A lot of people call him Turbo. I hope if he wins on this stage, I mean, then the world is his oyster if he can. So I hope he can beat Moraes. I mean, I know Moraes seems like the favorite with the odds makers or whatever, but that's a fight that if it's not on your radar, you want to pay attention when they walk in the cage.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be the case of the known versus the unknown. I mean, Moraes is definitely a world-class MMA fighter. I mean, we watched him, you know, take out Mighty Mouse in a fight, and he's beat a lot of world-class guys, and he was a world champion. So I definitely understand why he's favored just coming out of the gate against a later replacement. But you know, that's what opens the doors for a lot of these people, and that's what makes a name for the people as they get to step in, and he has a chance to really do something great. Jason Jackson was initially supposed to fight Lorenz Larkin. That one's disappointing. Jeff Creighton steps in. Jeff Creighton's from around my corner, trains down here at Team Quest. Good fighter, has some good wins, had a couple good wins in Bellator. So it's a good fight. I just Larkin is always fun. One of my more favorite fighters to watch over the years. So that's kind of disappointing. But other than that, you know, the main card has essentially held together. And there should be some good fights. I'm not really sure. You know, we got the top of the card's 3 5-minute rounds. So we're going to have to 5 5-minute rounds. We will have to see how that unfolds. But I don't see a lot of these fights going very long. I think we start off with the opening heavyweight bout. Junior Dos Santos, JDS, former UFC champ, legend. Not sure why he hasn't been put in the Hall of Fame yet at this point, to be honest. Fighting, you want to pronounce his name? Know who he is, but you want to give a shot?
Despain.
We'll go with that. Despain, champion or you know, did he ever get the championship in karate combat? I don't really know, but I know he killed a lot of people around there.
Yeah.
5-2 record in MMA. This fight's a classic heavyweight pride-like bout that we used to get between two kind of maniac, big, you know, swinging heavyweights. I'm going with Junior Dos Santos. Experience. Experience. I think is going to be a key in this fight. Despain, I'm not going to. You know, I know he's got a big punch, but he is 5-2 in MMA. So I think Dos Santos. I'm going to pick Dos Santos. He might be knocked out looking at the sky in 4 seconds, but I'm going to pick him to win because
didn't Dos Santos like punch out his own elbow in one of
that was against the
Eagle
big dude.
MMA cards.
Yeah, against Castro.
Yeah.
So,
But
there's that. But again,
that's what I'm saying. He might be a little too weather.
Dude, he might be so weather beaten and washed, but I'm still gonna pick him to win. I mean, this to me it's kind of a coin flip. You got somebody's getting knocked out, and I don't think the fight goes beyond the first round.
I definitely see a knockout coming. I'm actually gonna lean Robelis Despain. Hopefully I'm not butchering his last name, but I'm going with Robelis just because I feel like Dos Santos might be suffering from some form of denial.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. The next fight, friend of the show, multiple time interviewee of yours, Kenneth Cross.
Yes, sir.
Faces Saladin Parnisi, big time prospect. This is kind of big time prospect against a guy kind of needing a break. You know, like a guy in his early 30s now who needs to to me, this is the biggest fight. I know he's had a Contender Series fight, so he's had fights that meant a lot. This is going to be probably it's going to be his most watched fight by literally tens of millions, probably worldwide. I really don't know. It's hard for me not to take Parnisi just because he's like the kind of the hot thing, coming up and comer. But Cross is 17-4 with a big heavy punch. I wish I knew the odds on these fights. I'll go with Cross. I'll say the veteran pulls out a win against the young up and comer, and might be his pathway to a big fight. Might be his pathway to the UFC or another big fight here.
And it'd be nice. It'd just be nice to see.
It'd be good for him. The guy's put in his time and work. So I have a feeling you're probably leaning that way, or at least you're gonna say you're leaning that way, no matter what. Just out of respect for the guy who's giving you.
Yeah, of course. Yes, I am. This one is Diaz, Nate Diaz, and Mike Perry. I'm picking Diaz by guillotine just because it's mixed martial arts and that is his bread and butter. First shot Mike Perry takes, he might shoot right into a guillotine. I know Perry's no slouch in MMA. I think he's either purple or brown belt in jiu-jitsu, but it looks like Nate Diaz has a reach advantage over him. The only way I could see Perry, and then not that, and I'm not by no means am I saying Perry sucks or anything like that. I just think when it comes to the ways for either guy to win, I think Nate Diaz probably has more. I know everybody likes to make fun of him and shit because of the shit he says or whatever, but when it comes to the work he puts in as a martial artist in a fight, he's pulled more than one rabbit out of his hat, and a lot of times it's been some sort of submission. So I could see Perry shooting in and Nate Diaz slapping in that patented Diaz brother guillotine with the way that they do it, using the glove and the fist and crunching it together and stuff like that. So I'm picking Nate Diaz by guillotine, but I just want to, with no disrespect to Mike Perry, I do think the propensity to cut him is favorable to Mike Perry getting a TKO. So if that happens, I'm not going to be surprised either.
That's what I'm picking. I'm picking Mike Perry TKO. Good fight. I think I don't see Perry shooting a takedown. I can see him getting dazed into kind of a confusing maybe scramble, but I don't necessarily think he's going to shoot a takedown. His bare knuckle experience of standing up and being in trouble there occasionally, and never even like thinking about kind of like in all the fights watching. I never saw where I've seen other BKFC guys kind of like they feel like they're going to revert. I don't see that with Mike Perry. I think Perry is the more prime fighter right now. To me, Diaz's best pathway of victory is kind of the dance around jab, and it kind of not be the best fight in the world. Like I feel like if this is a good fight, I think Mike Perry lights him up, and while Diaz basically counters. But dude, I'm going with the Bulldog Mike Perry right now. I
get it.
And that's just where I'm going. But I see your perspective too. And if they end up in any kind of grappling exchange, then Perry better, start praying, because that's not where I'd want to be with Diaz with Perry's ground experience or ground, skills per se. I mean, I have no memory of Mike Perry on the ground in my mind, at least of any of his fights. So
no, I remember he got submitted by Cowboy. I'm trying to think who else submitted him. But it's just I mean, there's certain when people are so good at certain moves in submission arts, and you hand a gift to somebody like that. I mean, I could see like him jabbing and being annoying enough to make Perry shooting that out of frustration. But you have a good point. I mean, I think also the bare knuckle stuff in the boxing might have him just want to throw hands more, and the thought of shooting in is probably not in his head at all.
Now the idea of Diaz kind of slapping in a guillotine, kind of catching him in one, like he kind of did jokingly with Jake Paul. That's that. Now there you go. Now that's that I could see more happening, where they kind of end up in a clinch, and he's just able to get the shorter fighter, get his arm over the top and kind of locks. So that might be something different. But I don't necessarily see Perry just shooting an ugly takedown and doing the old, dive into the guillotine. At least I hope not, because that would be disappointment. But that's honestly the fight that like if I had to pay for one fight to watch, that would be it.
Yeah, for
on
sure.
This card.
It's the one I'm most interested in, next to the Moraes Nakuda one. I mean, the other ones, I mean, they're fanfare and all that stuff like that, and obviously Kenny Cross and his fight against Parnassi. So like, those are the ones that I'm really tuning in for. But the
other two. I mean, the Ngannou Felipe Lins, which we're gonna jump into right now, only means something if Felipe Lins pulls off a major upset. The main event, which we get into, really only means something if Carano somehow pulls off an upset. Otherwise, everything's just going by the odds makers' books. And these were just fights just to have fights, kind of. There was no real competitiveness for them. With that said, Ngannou, I don't, you can't really pick against him in this fight. Unless he literally took no training, took this fight to like is just a throwaway fight. That's the only way he loses this, if he comes in extremely out of shape or something like that. But the Ngannou we've always seen has always been a predator basically in there. So I don't foresee that at all. I think Ngannou beats him in any way he really wants. I mean, I could anything from a submission, Kimura, to just a knockout. I could see any of that happening. I don't really see a pathway for Lins to win, barring an injury or a totally uninterested Ngannou
or a lucky punch or something like that. I mean,
true, but that to me that's not really a pathway. That's just
I could see, but I mean, I have on my notes I have Ngannou picked to win by knockout just because of who he is and what we know about him. So
I mean, because he should win this fight by knockout. I mean, that's essentially why. Like, if he loses this fight, it's a major. I mean, it's one of the historic upsets, honestly. That brings us to the headliner: Ronda Rousey, Gina Carano. A fight that never thought that I'd ever see, even though it was rumored every year for the last 15, 20 years. But I'd give my pinky to watch Gina Carano beat her into a fucking pulp and win the fight, but I got Ronda Rousey by first round submission.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what my pick was when they first announced it. I could see. I mean, everybody wants to talk about their age and their, cobwebs, ring rust, whatever you want to call it. but it's Rousey's still the more recent fighter as far as like her overall competitive career. I know Carano comes from Muay Thai into MMA, but Rousey she was an Olympian, and say what you will about how she handled her last two fights and the losses and stuff. Her preparation and mindset up until she tasted defeat again, I think, go on that level. Um, and she's just the experience she has, especially if she gets Carano in a clinch, is just it just might be too much for what Carano hasn't felt in a long time. I know she fought against Chris Cyborg, and there was moments on the ground or whatever where she was able to survive, but that was a long time ago, and again, there is levels to the levels of MMA in the little categories of grappling and stand up and all that. And Rousey just has that edge there, so it's hard not to pick her to win by submission. I really do want Gina to win, though. Like I would like.
Well, let me throw a perspective out that I was thinking about the other day. So Ronda Rousey was allergic to the idea of fighting anybody who was a natural 145 or basically her whole career. Like she most of her wins were against undersized girls that were 125ers that were fighting at 135 pounds. Her only two losses are against essentially 145 pounders that came down to 135 in Nunes and Holm. This fight is officially at 145, a weight class Rousey's never fought at.
Mm-hmm.
And Gina Carano is not small. She's not 5'2". She's a well-built, big, woman. So I think I'm curious to see the takedowns, because Ronda Rousey's entire takedown repertoire is a headlock, like school ground takedown.
Yeah.
And I don't know how easy that is against somebody who's naturally maybe 20 pounds heavier than you. Like that's the only caveat that I have, is that I'm curious to see, because we've never seen her shoot a single leg. She's never shot a double leg. It's
but
always
she shot that one on Holly Holm, and Holly Holm just wasn't there for it. And that fight, if you watch it,
that was right like the Olay, right?
Yeah.
That was when she was hurt, though, and out of pure desperation.
Yeah.
We've never seen a well-thinking Ronda Rousey have any kind of takedown that I can think of, and maybe I'm missing one, other than her grabbing a headlock along the cage and basically doing a hip toss. Headlock, hip toss. I don't know. Most people, and men's MMA, that doesn't work, because unless there's a total mismatch, that doesn't work. Guys just don't get hip tossed with a headlock. That's literally, Oleg Tektarov, like 1995 stuff. We don't that doesn't happen very often in high class MMA anymore. So that's the interest I have, is what they look like standing in the cage. Are they the same size? Does Ronda have a little bit of size on her? And if so, if she was able to establish some rudimentary balance and those that's what I'm training left and right, is avoid like how to use the cage, everything to just avoid that headlock kind of takedown if we end up in a clinch. Gina's got really good elbows. She's always had good elbows. If she's able to use those maybe in some kind of clinch situation, an inside elbow, something that kind of rocks or cuts or just puts any doubt in Rousey's mind, because she's proven that when doubt enters her mind, she is not the same fighter she thinks she's Superwoman.
Yeah.
Again, maybe this is all wishful thinking, but just angles that I've been trying to think of. Gina Carano's training with a good camp in Vegas. She's got good training partners.
Did you watch any of the stuff that they put up, like the hype videos or all the stuff like that?
I saw a couple little interviews. I didn't watch any of the workout stuff.
One of the things that when this fight was announced in my mind, I was like, I wonder if she's gonna because Holly Holm also has a contract with MVP. I don't know if they involved her in any of this at all, but that'd be somebody that if I were Gina Carano, I would have been like, hey, what? Just, you got any pointers? I like what you did when you prepared, because I do remember one of the pointers that Holly Holmes spoke about after the fact was because of the the toss that you mentioned, every time they got in a clinch, she actually made it a point to make sure her shoulders were down, and she withdrew her hand so that she couldn't get caught like so. And that was one of the way that was one of the ways that she was able to prevent. And that's the Jackson Wink that drilled her on that. I would think. Granted, she didn't do that against Kayla Harrison. I don't know what the hell happened to her there, but I would hope that's something that went into the Carano camps like crap.
I'm sure it did. She's training at Extreme Couture. She's got a bunch of good people there at the gym. She's going to be well prepared. It's just going to be a matter of if she was ever good enough to avoid going down to the ground. I've stated my love for Gina Carano 1,000 times. I don't need to do it 1,000 more. But I hope she wins. I think it would be cool. I
would love it if she won.
I hope. I don't think Rousey's got it into her to kind of like. Okay, if Gina Carano wins this fight on Netflix, do you know how many movies on Netflix she headlines?
Oh yeah.
Like
whatever she's doing with Disney would be for Netflix.
I don't know if Ronda Rousey has it in her to kind of lay down.
Yeah.
For the legend to kind of. Yeah. I mean, a win does nothing for Ronda Rousey. A win for Gina Carano means she becomes a lead movie star in probably just about every Netflix movie for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not hinting that would happen, and I don't think Rousey is the opponent that would do that because her ego says that I don't, and I don't want her to. I don't want that to happen. That would be shitty if that happened.
Yeah.
But I mean, a win for Carano here would be, I mean, just giving her the mic at the end and just, there's a lot that could, So I mean, I really would like to see her win, but there's no way I would put money on her. Barring some kind of crazy friggin' odds that, $10, $20, or $100, but nothing. I wouldn't heavily recommend nobody mortgaging their house on her or anything. I don't. Again, if she wins, it would be huge. Statistically, it'd be a huge upset. But Rousey's been a long time. She's her last 2 times in the cage. She's walked out basically with tears in her eyes. So who knows where she's at? A lot of. She talks a lot, and me and you were both fans of fighters that kind of don't talk at all.
Yeah.
So I'd always make, they always say the loudest person's kind of like the least dangerous, and I'm not saying she's the least dangerous by any means because it's Ronda Rousey. We've seen what she can do, but when you start talking a lot, I wonder if there's just doubt in your mind and you're just trying to make yourself feel good. When you start comparing yourself to Ali and stuff, do you really think that, or are you just saying that to try to hype yourself up? Like, because if you really think that, then you probably are not all there. Just saying. I mean, if you think you're Muhammad Ali, like, you could interview almost every boxer on the planet, and none of them would say they think they're Muhammad Ali. So for just, it's a weird thing, and I mean, I kind of hope some of that's involved so that, like I said, I'd give my pinky to watch her get smashed up for four rounds and then TKO'd.
I just see. I mean, it's probably going to be quick, like kind of like a lot of her UFC run was, but it would be nice to see it be somewhat competitive. I hope that Carano's like has a reach and strength as far as like striking power. Maybe she can pepper her enough to disorient her. Keep her at bay, keep her from rushing in, trying to clinch her. I mean, I hope Rousey tries to strike with her. I know she was a fan of her own boxing before her downfall. If she makes that mistake against Carano, that's probably favors Carano. But we'll see.
I mean, I think Gina Carano beats every one of Rousey's opponents that she beat, other than maybe Zingano. Other than that, I think she probably beats everybody else. I think she beats Alexa Davis. I think she beats, Sarah Kaufman. I think there's a lot. I think, maybe Tate, maybe Misha Tate with the wrestling, like that good 2-year run of Misha Tate, like where she was really, really good. Maybe that version beats Gina Carano, but like, I don't think there's a lot of, I think she beats most of the people. So I don't think it's so outlandish to think that this fight's that far apart, but I got to go with Rousey. But I'm looking forward to these fights, man. I'm gonna be in Vegas. I'm going to the No Doubt on Friday at the Sphere, and then I'm
Oh,
going to
nice.
yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Say hi to my other wife, Gwen Stefani, while you're there.
I've already contemplated getting floor tickets for night 2. I might be watching the fights on my phone in the front row or on the floor in the pit from that concert. But yeah, I'm definitely going to catch these. They're on Netflix. The world has Netflix. Watch the fights. Support other MMA. Even if it's not really your thing, just have it running in the background. Help them out with some ratings.
Some of these fighters that we mentioned, if you've never watched them before and this is your first time watching guys like Fumi and Kenny and all these other fighters and just Robelis Despain, like all these guys, this is a really good platform. It's a good opportunity for them, and but definitely open your palate. The UFC is great. It got the sport to where it is, but there's a lot of great. The world's a big place. And there's a lot of great fighters out there.
Yep, and it's nice to see a big name card without the UFC banner over the top of it. It's just nice to see it because we used to get this quite a bit, and that's gone away. And so that option and just the ability to kind of get a different feel and some different camera looks and a five-sided. It's gonna be nice to see the 5-sided cage back. I know that's just something simple, but my God, the Pentagon, that coming back is going to be freaking cool. Like I got used to watching that in Strike Force.
And I just hope, when we look at the fights and the card and stuff like that, I just hope we were talking about this before we started recording. I hope the pacing is to our liking. I hope there's not 800 commentary and conversations that we have to, they've involved the He Who Will Not Be Named the production of this, which is a little concerning. Hopefully they keep him, to the side and remind him that it's this is the fight and these are the fighters and none of this has anything to do with you fucking dickhead.
If I had one final wish, it would be that it would be one that I found out that the play-by-play was being done by Sean Wheelock and Jimmy Smith. But that's probably well too far-fetched to even imagine. Jimmy Smith does do the bare knuckle, though.
Yeah.
Which is nice to hear his voice.
I think Wheelock is on for something, though. He's like at the desk or something.
I'm sure he's doing the technical stuff. Yeah. He's excellent at that. He's got his moment, but I don't know why that I don't know why that combination is not ever. Nobody ever thinks about trying to bring them back together in some of these things. Again, nostalgia, but maybe a future card or something they can see that worked in. I just hate to see a world where Jimmy Smith isn't calling fights because best dude in MMA should be around. And
good
he
at
should
it,
be. He just should be.
Just good at it as in never mind his fight experience and martial arts experience, but like even from a broadcast, just as a broadcast from a broadcaster standpoint, I mean the man has experience and his voice projects well and. He just does. He's a professional. The fact that that's
he can't. I saw a poll the other day, or a ranking came out, and he was ranked as the 5th best play-by-play guy in the history of MMA.
Yeah,
and it's like, and he's like, he's like essentially barely working. Maybe that's his choice. Maybe he's done. Seems like a smart dude. I'm sure he didn't squander everything, but and he's had a lot of time and shows that he's done stuff. So it's been fun. But anyways, we'll let it go there. There is a Fight Pass card or a Apex card as well for the UFC. So that is also an option for Saturday. If you just want more MMA or if that's the flavor you'd rather have that day. But Netflix Saturday night will have most of the world watching.
I think that's the one that's number one.
And I look forward to that. Fans can follow the show at Combat Hour on Twitter, Coast-to-Coast Combat Hour on Instagram. Follow me, Matt Hawkins, at MMA Hawk 21 and on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Ed at Carbizol on Twitter, Carbeerzol on Instagram, Old Head Carb on Twitch. Thanks for listening. It was nice to get an hour in this week. We've had some short shows recently, but it was nice to get into some chatter and maybe some ramblings. But we're reaching the combat hour, so thanks for listening, everybody, and have a good night and enjoy the fights.
Peace.